Hey everyone, thank you for watching. In today's video I am so excited to do. It is going to be all about eyeshadow palettes, not just any eyeshadow palettes, rose toned, pinky tone, mauve tone palettes, and I'm going to be ranking them from my least favorite to my top favorite. I have new palettes in here. I also have old palettes in here, so we have a lot to get through. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome. So I always start off with my outfit of the day. I'm gonna step over Aries. So today this is what I have on. These shorts are from Target. This tank top I got forever ago. I don't really know where. And then I have on my Hermes sandals. I'm getting ready to go to our trivia night at the complex. I'm going right after that, and then I think we're doing a sushi night as well, some of us. So very excited about that. But I've been really looking forward to filming this video because there has been so many, especially rose toned, pinky toned, mauve toned eyeshadow palettes that have been releasing. I wanted to chat with you about them since I've been trying to test all of them out as much as I can and to give you my thoughts, but I also wanted to include some older palettes in this video because I'm definitely getting a lot of comments of, Samantha, do you think I should get this one even though I already have this one? Can we see comparisons? So that is what we are going to be going through today. Like I said, I'm going to rank from my least favorite from my top favorite. I'm going to share some swatches in here, some different looks, and I just hope that you find this video helpful if you've been considering some of these palettes. I will link everything down below. I also link everything that I am wearing makeup wise, clothing wise, and I do like to say that I use affiliate links, so if you use those, I thank you so much for your support. I did do a little bit of filming on this look today. I'm using one of the palettes. Any guesses on what palette that I'm wearing today? And I did film this look for my Instagram, which is March Beauty Word. So I do a lot of demos over there, and I do a lot of first impressions on my TikTok, which is by Samantha March. All right, that is everything. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So I will say that when I got this idea and I pulled out the palettes, I was going, Aries, you good, girl? You good? Did you get all your dinner? Through my collection and grabbed out all of the palettes, and we have 10 in here, so we're going from 10 to 1. I immediately wrote down what was gonna go in the number 10 spot. And I looked at the number 9 spot and I looked and I was like, all right, pretty confident that I know what's gonna go in the number 9 spot. And then 8 through 1, I just stared at it. And I stared at it and I stared at the palettes and I stared at my list and I was like, I don't know. This was truly super, super difficult. We have a lot of my favorite palettes in here. I love pink tones, rosy tones, mauve tones. Wearing it, especially with green eyes, I feel like it's just a very complimentary. So these are some of my favorite palettes in here. So I'm also essentially ranking some of my favorite palettes, some of my favorite eyeshadow formulas. There's a lot of repeat brands. We are going to start off at number 10. This is from Huda Beauty, and this is the New Nude palette. So this is one of the older palettes that launched. This was from a few years ago. This palette retailed for $65. We do have 18 different shades inside, including this one here, which says it's a concealer. I remember when this came out, I was like, I don't get it. Why is there a cream shade? You can see that I have tape over it because there wasn't anything over the palette. And I was like, I just don't know if I'm ever going to use that. I don't get it. Flash forward to now, we do have cream products and palettes, and you're going to be seeing that in this video as well. But I can remember years ago, I was like, I just don't understand. I do wish that there would have been something to protect that shadow because you might be able to see my palette. I do have some, you know, like fallout from the shadows around here, so that can very easily get into those cream products, which is why I have tape over it. But this was never my favorite palette from Huda Beauty. I really preferred her Obsessions eyeshadow palettes, the 9 pans. I'm someone who likes smaller eyeshadow palettes as well, so the 18 shades. It's pretty though. You have mattes, you have shimmers, you do have a glitter in here. Like I said, you have the concealer shade, but it was never one of those palettes that I was like, this is my everything. You know, like I used it, I wore it, I thought it was pretty, but it didn't give me big feels. And I've actually recently come to kind of realize that about Huda Beauty and her makeup products. I either will really enjoy something or else I just don't really have a lot of feelings about it. It's like, it's fine, but it's not a favorite. It's not something I keep reaching for. And that is how I would consider the New Nude. So this one definitely has your mauve tones in here. You have a few neutrals. It leans more on the pink side, but there's some really beautiful shimmers. And again, you have that addition of the concealer, but especially for the $65, I just don't reach for it all that often. At number 9 from Colourpop, I have their By the Rosé palette. I was almost a little bit surprised I didn't have more pinky rosy mauve. How many times, like, don't play a drinking game. Don't play a drinking game. How many times I say that in this video, unless you want to. A little bit surprised that I didn't have more, but by the Rosé, this came out, I believe it was right at the beginning of 2022, and it's a pretty palette. It was one that definitely caught my attention, which not all Colourpop releases do. You know, I do my new makeup releases series every single Wednesday where I chat over the new makeup releases. Colourpop is pretty much mentioned every week, and even though I am on their PR list, I do end up giving a lot away because I just can't try as many products as Colourpop comes out with. But this was one that I was like, I do want to try that, and it's a nice palette. I think that it's pretty. Mattes and shimmers in here, and I think that they all perform well. Here you have 9 different shades. This retails for $14, so obviously a very different price point from the Huda Beauty. Once again, very on the rosé side, if you will. It's one of those that it's not my favorite Colourpop palette. It's not my favorite palette in my collection. This one, if you're looking for a more affordable option and you just want, you know, maybe you're not someone who loves rosy tones, but you just want a little something in your collection, but you don't want to pay an extraordinary price point for it because you don't use it all that much, you know, the By the Rosé might be a good option for you there at the $14. It's not that I dislike the palette, it's just definitely not in my favorites for my formula or color scheme when it comes to pinky rosy mauve palettes. You would think I've been drinking. Swear I haven't though. At number 8, I do have another one from Huda Beauty, and this one is the Rose Quartz palette. Now I will say that I like this palette significantly more than I like the New Nude. When the Rose Quartz was releasing, I actually decided not to buy it, in large part because I wasn't super overwhelmed with the New Nude. So I was like, I can skip it. This was $65. This retailed for $67. I was like, I can probably skip that one. You can see that these ones are pretty different. The Rose Quartz is going to be more on that cool tone side, but we also do have some different and more unique shades in here. We have Love Stone, which is almost more of like a glossy type of finish. It's a very interesting shade. You have the mattes and you have some really beautiful shimmers in here. This was one I ended up getting in PR from Huda Beauty. It was the first PR and the last PR that I've ever received from Huda Beauty. And I was very excited to try it. I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. I'll see what I think. And I was definitely more impressed than I thought that I was going to be. The mattes were, like, to me, the quality in here seemed different than the New Nude, and it was easier to work with. And the mattes were super smooth, very easy to blend on the eyes. The shimmers to me really kind of stole the show. Like, some of the shimmers in here I really thought were quite stunning, very easy to use on the eyes as well. Even though there's some shades in here that I thought leaned a little bit more on the brown side, everything really is more on that pinky side. Now, it still is $67. You get still the 18 shades in here. Like, I always feel like I have to do math so fast in my head. So you still get the 18 shades, but $67 I still do think is pretty pricey. And again, at the top of my list, I'm gonna be talking about eyeshadow formulas from brands that I just love so much. I continue to use and purchase palettes and recommend them. The Huda Beauty formula, while I liked the one in the Rose Quartz better than the New Nude, neither one I'm like, ah! Sometimes you just lose the words you're trying to say, so just like, ah! Sound effects will have to do. At number 7, I have a quad here from Charlotte Tilbury, and this is the Pillowtalk quad. I go a little bit back and forth on if I should include this or not, because I know she has some other palettes that are more on the rosy or the pinky or the mauve side. This one though, I still felt like it gave enough pink vibes. Pillowtalk, usually when I think of Pillowtalk from Charlotte Tilbury, I think very light pink, very like feminine, girly vibes, which I love. So I still wanted to include it, mostly because I did also want to chat about the Charlotte Tilbury formula, and especially the quads, because these are $54, and I do think that that is pretty pricey for the 4 shades that you're getting. Now, the quality in here though, I really do enjoy. Quads that I have from Charlotte Tilbury in my collection right now are Pillowtalk, which is a beautiful kind of staple neutral for me. And then I also have Green Lights, which is a green quad, and that to me is a fun one for when I want to do green looks, pops of color looks, things like that. But from what I've pretty much always said about the Charlotte Tilbury quads is if there's one that can either be a staple for you or be kind of like that standout in your collection, which Green Lights is to me, then they could be worth the price tag, and maybe if you get them on sale, but I still think $54 is very expensive. It's a very, like the mattes in here, very smooth, very easy to blend, very buildable shadows, which is what I prefer. The shimmers are also really beautiful, and this one, like, that one is so stunning. It's so easy to use these on the eyes. If you have makeup preferences similar to me, I could see you enjoying these because they're very user friendly, and they're even very beginner friendly. I just don't think they have the most, especially beginner friendly price tag. Starting out with makeup, we typically like to go for things that are a little bit more affordable. Like all of my first brushes were $1 e.l.f. brushes as I was trying to learn how to use makeup brushes and that sort of thing. Even if you're not a beginner into makeup, but you're more into quick and easy looks, maybe a little bit more neutral, everyday, I put that in quotations, then something like the Pillowtalk I think would really work out for you. For me, sometimes I like that it's just the 4 shades because I know exactly what I'm doing and I'm going to use all 4 shades. I'm gonna put this one in the crease. I'm gonna deepen with this shade here on the outer part of my eye. I'm gonna add this all over the lid. I'm gonna do inner corner and brow bone highlight, and boom, done. Like those are what I think that these are good for. So if that's kind of where you lean, I still think that these are really nice quality. Not a favorite of mine, and again, the price tag always kind of looms in my head for me, but I really do enjoy my Pillowtalk, and I really do enjoy my green lights if you're looking for something a little bit more colorful. At number 6, we are jumping into, I think those were all older palettes, so hey, look at that. But at number 6, I have a newer palette. This is from Patrick Ta. This is the Major Dimension 2 eyeshadow palette, the Rosy palette. Now, I did do a video recently on this because I purchased this during the Sephora sale, and I did a trying new makeup, and I had just gotten my box in, and I didn't realize until on camera I was opening it up and one of my shades was broken. And I unfortunately have not had time to run to Sephora yet to get it fixed. I've had a lot going on, especially in my personal life, between divorce being finalized, I had to get metal fillings replaced. To chat a little bit more about some health issues that I'm going through. I'm planning to probably talk about them a little bit more openly here on YouTube as well, but I've been in and out of doctor's appointments, blood work, all the things. So I just have not had time to go to Sephora yet to exchange my palette, but I'm really hoping at some point I can get a free day so I can run over there and do that, because I was really bummed, and especially because some of the fallout came into these cream shades and into some of the other shades right here. So I've been a little limited on what I can do with the palette, but if you guessed that on my eyes was the Major Dimension 2 palette, you would be correct. This is the one that I used today, and like I said, I did do the tutorial for my Instagram. So I purchased this palette, which is $68, and you get 12 different shades. Like I had mentioned, I purchased this from the Sephora sale in part because I also purchased the Major Dimension palette, the original one, and I enjoyed it so much I decided to get the Rosy palette as well. Though I was really excited to get my 20% off with my Rouge discount, because $68 I do think is really quite expensive. And again, we're about to jump into my favorite brands, my favorite formulas, and my favorite palettes. So the Patrick Ta I still think is really good. It hasn't quite reached the level of my favorite brands yet, but I thought, especially today, it was so easy to create this look. I wanted to stay away from the mattes since some of them have some of that fallout in there. So I just used these 2 shadows on the end, and it was so beautiful, so easy to use. I did just dip a little bit into this matte shade just to run a little bit across the crease and the lower lash line, but I really wanted to do something very shimmery. That's what I was going for, and like, you'll see in the demo, I have like an O face the whole time, okay? I'm just like, I'll say that from both palettes, the mattes really stuck out to me as being so smooth. I feel like I'm gonna start repeating myself, but I'm talking about eyeshadow palettes. So smooth. They're very blendable and buildable, which again is what I prefer. If you're someone who wants more pigment right away, you know, my makeup style is really the opposite of yours. So when I'm reviewing products or talking about what I love, you know, you might just need to be aware to like flip that in your mind. But the shimmers are just amazing, and I actually apply these with a brush. Sometimes you can get more payoff with a shimmer if you use your finger, and the heat from your finger can help give it a pop. I applied these with a brush, and I felt like they were just like pop, pop, pop. These are the ones that I mentioned with the Huda Beauty. These have the cream shadows in here, and I like it because it does have the plastic applicator over it. That was something that still was a little bit holding me back from purchasing the first one, because I was like, cream shadows, I just don't know. Mixed with a shadow palette, am I going to use them? And I ended up using them a lot as a base shade to layer on the different shadows, and I was really impressed with those. So unfortunately, these are really covered with the broken shadows, so that's why I really want to, like, I feel like I haven't been able to use this palette to its full potential because of having it come broken, which shockingly, so many people said the same thing. I obviously talked about it here on YouTube. I talked about it on my TikTok and so many people said theirs was also showing up broken. So I was pretty surprised at that, but it's really gorgeous. A more expensive palette for sure, but I've really been enjoying it. All right, now we're gonna get into the top five. At number 5, and these from, yes, I'm like making sure I'm correct, from 5 to 1 is all the same, same brands. I have 2 different brands. We're gonna go back and forth between them, and these are almost all older palettes except for one. And I'm basically like ranking now my favorite rosy pinky mauve palettes. But at number 5 from Sigma Beauty, we have the Rosy palette. I love the Sigma Beauty eyeshadow formula. I've been raving about it for years and years and years, and I continue to enjoy it so much. I was really excited when they came out with these on the go palettes. So these have 9 different shades in here, and they have quite a variety of different on the go palettes that you can choose from, which are just kind of smaller versions of their larger eyeshadow palette. So these retail for $29. The larger eyeshadow palettes retail for $49. Also, you can get the Rosy palette. This happens to be my favorite on the go palette, and it is available in the Samantha March Sigma favorite set. So you do get the Rosy eyeshadow palette in there, plus 3 eye brushes, my favorite 3 eye brushes. So you can purchase that at a discounted bundle on the Sigma website. It's still available up on the website now, and I am an affiliate with Sigma, so my code is Samantha. So if you're ever purchasing anything from them, you can use the code Samantha to save a little bit at checkout. But like I said, I've just raved about the Sigma quality for years, and what I really enjoy is that they are so consistent. When I get an eyeshadow palette from Sigma, I don't have to wonder, I wonder what this one's gonna be like. Is it gonna be like the last one? Is it gonna be like the palette that came out 2 times before that? It's just consistent, high quality, and I appreciate that so much. So if you're someone like me and you like kind of these smaller palettes with more of a specific color scheme or more monochromatic looks, like I really do enjoy using color, but I use it in a very monochromatic type of way. That's why I got so excited when I saw these were coming out. Mattes, super easy to use. The shimmers and some of the topper shades from Sigma are just excellent. They're just excellent. They're some of my absolute favorites to use, but the mattes are also super stunning. I do enjoy the Rosy palette, and we'll keep talking about Sigma in the top 5 here. At number 4, and the other brand that you're going to be seeing mentioned a handful of times in the top 5, this is from Natasha Denona, and this is the Love palette. So this released a couple years ago. This one is a midi palette, so this retails for $65. So again, a higher price tag, but I love the Natasha Denona formula. Natasha Denona and Sigma, those are my top eyeshadow formulas. I also really enjoy that from these brands, they have a variety of price points. With Sigma Beauty, you can get the smaller palettes for $29 with the 9 shades. From Natasha Denona, you can get the smaller palettes, the mini palettes at $25. You can get the larger palettes, Sigma at $49, Natasha at $65, and then Natasha has even larger palettes you can pick up as well. Midi really is my favorite size. For a while there, it was minis, but the midi palettes that she has been releasing, I just enjoy these so much. The Love palette really had my heart for many years. I did a beauty battle several months ago between the Love palette and another Natasha palette. If you watch my channel for a while, you might know what it is. And this one actually did get knocked down a little bit, but it's still so beautiful. When it released around Valentine's Day, and I loved just the pinky tones. I love that there was a red in here. I love red with green eyes. I think that it's such a pretty shade. Once again, the shimmers are beautiful. This silver shade I thought was really neat, and a lot of times when I went into the palette, I went into that shade. Also, Giving was just a really stunning pinky shimmer, but transparent. My shade Transparent has quite a dip in it. This is such a cool shade that often will just put all over the lid, and I think it's stunning. The Dream shade is a little bit more on that cream side. I mean, I feel like I could just continue to swatch. Soul is one of my favorite shades just in general. This is a beautiful palette. I was in love with the Love for such a long time, but we still got some top contenders to talk about. At number 3, one of the newer palettes in my collection. This is from Sigma Beauty, and this is the new Mod palette. This is the latest release with Sigma Beauty. This palette is stunning. When I saw that this was what they were going to be releasing, I immediately got so excited. I love the little details on this. I love that the packaging on the palette is more of that velvety feel, and inside, this was just made for like my mauve loving heart, which I enjoy. I enjoy so much. When Sigma first came out with the new Mod lipstick years ago, it was a liquid lipstick. I was so about that lipstick, and it was so interesting to hear them say that the lipstick sold so well, they decided to create a whole collection basically around that lipstick. And I was like, genius though, because that's how they came up with the New Mod palette, and this palette is extraordinary. Something that I really love about the Sigma eyeshadow palettes as well is that they do come with a double-ended brush. Sigma brushes are some of my absolute favorite. Once I started to upgrade my brushes from the $1 e.l.f. brushes and then like the $4 BH Cosmetics brushes, I went to Sigma Beauty and I've really never looked back. They have amazing eye brushes, face brushes. They have so many different brush tools, cleaning tools for your brushes. I mean, Sigma's just been a favorite brand of mine for such a long time. But the New Mod shade in here, like this Dusty Rose, is such a favorite color of mine. This vintage shade is so beautiful. I find myself going into that a lot. But Avant-Garde to me is just, this one really steals the show for me because it is just one of those shadows that looks wet on the eyes. It's easy to apply. Once again, with your fingers, even with a brush, you're still gonna get amazing payoff and that wet looking formula that you don't have to do anything with. You don't have to mix shadows together. Like if anyone remembers when I tell the stories of buying from Stila Cosmetics, like the kitten shadow that you had to have your own mixing medium with and it came with a little tin, you get all of that in this shade and it is so stunning. It is so hard for me to go into this palette and not reach into Avant-Garde. I have put it on top of other shadows. The other day I put it on top of Flashy. It was beautiful. I've used that shade and I put Glam on top of it. This palette is stunning. I was able to actually go to the launch party for the New Mod collection, meet the Sigma team. It was so amazing. I got to go with a couple of friends here that are also YouTubers. I have a whole vlog on the experience if you want to see that. And it really meant so much to me to be able to do something like that with a brand that I've loved for so long, that I've been buying from so long. And the first brand to put me on a PR list, the first brand to give me an affiliate code, to be able to attend a launch party with them was so exciting. And truly, when this got announced, people were tagging me and saying like, this looks like a palette that you would collab with Sigma on. And I'm like, yes, I know, because it's amazing. It's beautiful. Love the quality. Love the shades. I don't know what more else I can say. All right, at number 2, I have another one from Sigma Beauty, the Cor de Rosa palette. You know, I honestly, I was like, the New Mod and the Cor de Rosa. I was like, I think maybe if I've had the New Mod for just maybe like a month more, I feel like New Mod could knock off Cor de Rosa, but as of right now, the Cor de Rosa is just, it's so stunning to me. So this one I actually do have the brush in here so you can see what the double-ended brushes look like. And this one, let me show you a comparison to the New Mod. So these I do think are pretty different palettes. I was getting a lot of questions, would I recommend the Cor de Rosa or the New Mod? I know I am ranking Cor de Rosa right over the New Mod, but I think it really depends on what it is that you're going for. New Mod is gonna be, to me this one screams a little bit more on the romantic side, a little bit more on that mauve-y, pinky side, whereas the Cor de Rosa makes me think of like spring, summer, warm weather, pops of color. That's kind of how I look at these two palettes. So you can see, even though we have like the same kind of color scheme going on, I feel like they're still very different palettes. So if you can only get one, I think it just depends on your color preferences that you are going for. But the Cor de Rosa has been my favorite Sigma palette for such a long time. I do have a video ranking all of my Sigma Beauty palettes and all of my Natasha Denona palettes. I might need to do an updated Natasha Denona one sometime soon, but I do have both of those. I can link all of that in the description box as well. This one though is such a fun one. Once again, for spring, for summer, you have these pops of colors. Once again, like I said, the quality is all the same, which I think is fantastic. I love the Damascus shade, just this like punchy pink, I think is so pretty. I don't know if you can see like so much use on the what is the shade even called? High Society. The Cor de Rosa shade though has a huge dip in it. Something about those tones just really get me. Even like Campfire, Belle of the Ball is such a beautiful, just all over the lid topper shade to give you that kind of wet looking eyeshadow look. It's just such a beautiful palette. The Cor de Rosa just still continues to have my heart. Oh yes, we've made it to the #1 spot. It's very curious for those of you who have followed my channel for a while, if you think that you know what it was. Yep, it's the Natasha Denona Retro palette. Once again, like I said, Natasha and Sigma are right there for me. They both have such amazing quality. For me, when I thought of the retro though, I was like, this palette, has that kind of romantic mauve tones like the new mod, but I really love some of these kind of like deeper jewel tones as well. I think that there's so much that you can do with this palette. Once I actually started to play with it and I realized how versatile it really could be. It was one when I looked at it at first, to me it's definitely a monochromatic palette, a monochromatic mauve tone palette. And I was like, oh, you know, I wonder how different my looks can be. There's a lot that you can do with this one. The shade Psychedelic right in the middle is also so beautiful. Amara is the one that I use all of the time as well. Kind of that terracotta matte, which is stunning. I really enjoy that Natasha has a more of a cream based eyeshadow formula in her palettes now, and especially in the midi palettes, where it's not so creamy like you would need to cover them like the Patrick Ta or the Huda Beauty, but you can just tell a difference when you're putting it on your lids, and it's just so stunning. Rebellion here is one of those shades in this palette. The shade Andy has a big dip in it. Again, that kind of dusty rosy shade, beautiful glitz. I mean, this palette's stunning. I have raved about it. This one is gonna run you for the $65 once again, but I have just raved about it. It's just one that I know that I can go into, and I know that I'm going to like whatever look it is that I'm doing. The new mod and the retro are gonna be pretty similar. So again, there is quite a bit of a price difference. The $49 for Sigma, plus you get the double-ended brush, plus you do also have a mirrored here. So you have the larger palette and the more expensive palette at $65 with the Natasha Denona. I honestly don't think that you can go wrong either way. I've had the retro for longer than I've had the new mod. So again, if maybe I've had the new mod for over a month, maybe I would think differently. I could always come back and do another beauty battle. But still, for me right now, knowing how much I love the retro, how much I've gone into it, how much I've used it time and time again, that's why I really wanted to give this one the #1 spot, but also show you, I think I would say the Natasha Denona is a little bit, the word that I want to use is darker. Like, I think the new mod is more on that monochromatic mauve rosy side, whereas with the Natasha Denona, I think you get a little bit more depth with some of the different shades here and some of these, like I said, like the jewel tones in the palette. I think you get more of that than you would in the retro, in the new mod, excuse me. So again, it's gonna boil down to your preferences, what you want, what you already have in your collection, what you're looking to add to your collection, and also what you want to spend on the eyeshadow palettes. But after that, that is going to do it, ranking Pinky Rosy Mauve Tone eyeshadow palettes, both new and old, in my collection. This was a tough one to do. I hope you enjoyed it though. I hope that you found it helpful. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you picking any of these up? Do you have any of the older ones that you still continue to love? I of course want to know, and as always, if you enjoyed this, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. I hope you also consider subscribing before you go, and I'll see you in my next video.